So I didn't blindly come across the idea of the Predator, but what had happened was I'd always loved soccer boots, and in fact, for a big part of the early Middlesbrough days, rather than take cash off the players, if Souness had a pair of Puma Kings, or Willie Madron had a pair of Adidas World Cups, I would take boots as the payment. So I had a fashion, like women love handbags and high heel shoes. I got this fetish about soccer boots. So soccer boots were my currency. That's what I'm getting to. So when I retired from Liverpool, and that's another story, 27 years of age, I retired. My sister got very, very sick and needed help. So I retired, and I said I would never play again. And I didn't. I said I'd never be involved with the game. But two little kids turned up in Australia, a place called Avalon, and they said, Mr. Johnston, we're the local soccer team, and we're not very good. You know, these kids were 9, 10, something like that. Can you come and coach us? So I looked at their little faces and had a ball under their arm, and, they were cheeky monkeys. I said, all right, I'll be down there in 20 minutes. So I went down, and I was teaching them how to swerve a ball. And I said, well, look, swerving is like a table tennis bat or a tennis racket where you put topspin on it or you put backspin. I said you do the same thing with your feet and with your shoes, right? You put a language in English on it. So everybody agreed and nodded. And then one of the little kids put his hand up and said, I'm sorry, Mr. Johnston, but our boots are made of leather and not rubber, like a table tennis bat, and it's raining, and it's slippery and it's wet. And I said, well, you're 100% right. And then it started to pour down, and we had to end the session. So I was driving home, I was thinking, those kids are really, really right there, right? Knowing what I know about the boots and the ball. And by the way, when I say science, I got so into the science of the football. Do you know what a scientific name is? It's a truncated icosahedron with all the pentagons and the hexagons stitched together. No, but in science it is. And the swerve is the high and low pressure, the same high and low pressure that cricket bowlers polish one side of the ball so that it slips through the air, right, as it's going, on its trajectory through the velocity, and one side slows down and one side, which creates the spin and and it's the spin and what's it called, the swerve, swing, like a soccer ball. Yeah. So the leather of the boot didn't quite engage in the polyurethane that the balls were made of. So I thought the kids are right. I rushed home. I got a table tennis bat. I pulled it off the sleeve. I stuck it onto my boots and I wrapped it round with elastic band. I went out in the backyard and I kicked the ball with a bit of a side spin on it, sort of swerve, and it squealed like a pig. Uh-huh. And the butadiene in the rubber cut right through to the polyurethane, through the water, and it squealed literally like a pig. And it spun like leather could never spin it. So 100% right. Again, this was a long time ago. It was 25 years ago. No internet. So I looked up patents. I went to the lawyer, right? I spent about 2 years and a lot of money to get some patents, right, to have a look at how it could be a bigger sweet spot, like like a tennis racket, more grip, like a table tennis bat, but fundamentally still a soccer boot. And I got that patented, and it cost a fortune. And I got a whole bunch of models made of it, prototypes made out of rubber and leather combination. And I took it to Adidas, and you know what they said?
They didn't take it, first of all, did they?
No, they said it's that swear word again that starts with S. And they said, it'll never work. We know what you're talking about, but we've never heard of you, right? As a soccer player, they said, the German guys, and they said it'll never work. So I took it to Nike, And they said, no, it'll never work. Don't get it. I took it to Puma. They said, well, have you taken it to Adidas? I said, yes, I have. They said, well, they said it'll never work. Well, it won't work. You know, it's a rubber boot. I took it to Reebok. They said no. I took it to Umbro. They all said no. But it's a little bit like Jack Charlton. I knew that they were coming at it from their perspective, but I knew it worked because I'd spent years, what part of foot on what part of ball to what effect. So I had to solve the problem. So I thought there's only one thing to do. I need some German players to talk to the German people at Adidas. So I turned up at Munich and I went to, knocked on the door. Who are you? I'm Craig Johnston from Australia, played for Liverpool. I want to see the Kaiser, Franz Beckenbauer. And they said, oh, he's a very busy man. I said, yeah, but please tell him what I've just told you. So the woman went away. She came back and she said, look, Mr. Beckenbauer knows who you are and he would really like to see you. Can you come back tomorrow? And do you have 4 of these things, these rubber things that you talked about? And I said, yes. So next day I turned back, came back. Again, it was December, snow, middle of Munich, freezing cold. I had 4 right foot, size 8.5. They were called Super Boot, S-U-P-A boot. I call them Super Boot. Okay, and because that was the mold, size 8.5 right foot. Franz Beckenbauer turned up. He had Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. He had Paul Breitner. He had Hansi Müller. 4 of the greatest German players that ever played. They all put the shoes on, and I had a mini camcorder, and I followed them around. They're kicking the ball to each other backwards and forwards, and they were saying, yes, jawohl, das ist gut, kleiner Feiner. You know, a couple of shizers thrown in. And then I thought, hang on, this is headed in the right direction. So I was filming. Then they all got together, right? I got them together and I said, well, talk to each other. And they're going, well, das ist Gummi. And, you know, making things and making gestures that the ball's going further and it's going straighter. And, you know, that there's a sweet spot, you know, blah, blah, blah. I said to them, you know, well, what are you saying? And they said, well, it's on the video, you know. So then I shot from Munich back up to Nuremberg, where Adidas was, and they were having a meeting with all the board of directors because Adidas were actually going bankrupt. They were trading as insolvent, and they were selling the company for $1 to a Frenchman called Bernard Tapie.
Oh, Marseille guy.
Yes, which is a big deal for a German company to be selling to a French guy for $1. It was a huge embarrassment. So anyway, I went back to the security guards and I said, look, I've got a tape to show the directors. And the guy said, well, no, they've already said no. I said, yes, but I've got the Kaiser on the video. And I was showing them the video, the Kaiser. So he's phoned up and he said, oh, the Kaiser's doing a video or something. So they said, well, then come on up. So anyway, I came up and they were, you know, in a somber mood, of course. So I said, look, you've got to see this because Breitner, Rummenigge, the Kaiser, they're all, so what are they saying? I said, I don't know. I don't speak German. So they stopped the presentation they were doing. They put in the tape. Within 35 seconds, they all stood up, all 15, 20 of them, and they all started clapping, and they said, this is the future of our brand. Then they said, you can't leave this room without doing a deal with us. And that's how the deal was done.